children, welcome to another new session of nutrition part 3. Let us recapitulate the topic which we covered the last session. We have discussed about Mohls half-leaf experiment. In Mohls half-leaf experiment we discussed the essentiality of carbon dioxide in photosynthesis. Oxygen is produced during photosynthesis by Hydrilla leaf experiment. Black paper experiment, sunlight is essential for photosynthesis. Structure of chloroplast, events in the chloroplast. Let us continue our new session, that is events in chloroplast. In events in chloroplast, splitting of water molecule, conversion of light energy to chemical energy, reduction of carbon dioxide to carbohydrates. So children, now we will discuss the mechanism of photosynthesis in detail. That is, first one, light dependent reaction, photochemical phase, and light independent reaction, biosynthetic phase. Light dependent reaction is also called as photochemical phase because a series of reactions occur in a quick succession in the presence of light. That is why this reaction is called as photochemical phase. And the next phase is light independent reaction. It is called as biosynthetic phase. First step, light dependent reaction, that is photochemical phase. What is happening in light dependent reaction? As I told, it is light dependent reaction. Over here, sunlight is the source of light over here. So, the chlorophyll pigment on exposure to light energy becomes activated by absorbing photons. What are photons? Photons is the smallest unit of light energy. So children, over here, please remember what is the smallest unit of light energy? Photon. And chlorophyll will absorb photons. As a result, chlorophyll will get energy. Chlorophyll will get activated. Let us go for the step 2. Now, the chlorophyll is activated. That means the energy present in the chlorophyll will perform the next function. That is, the energy in the chlorophyll is used in splitting the water molecule into two components. That is, hydrogen ions and hydroxyl ions. So, you can see over here H2O is broken down to H plus and OH minus ions. And because of the breaking of the water, that is H2O, we are calling it as photolysis in the presence of light. Photo means light and lysis means breaking. Breaking of the water molecule in the presence of light is called as photolysis. So, H2O is broken down to H plus and OH minus ions. Photolysis is discovered by Robert Hill. The scientist who discovered photolysis was Robert Hill. Hence, it is called as Hill's reaction. So, next is step 3. The highly reactive H plus and OH minus ions of water undergo quick change. What is happening to the H plus OH minus ions? First, we will discuss about the OH minus ions. OH minus ions undergo a series of steps and produce water and oxygen. Water is used by the plant itself, whereas oxygen is released into the atmosphere. As we all breathe oxygen, we are using that oxygen. The next element is H plus ion. H plus ion undergoes a series of changes in dark reaction. So, the step 3, we talked about H plus and OH minus ions. So, H plus ions play a major role in the dark reaction, whereas OH minus ions will produce water and oxygen. Let us go for the next topic. H plus ions. The H plus ions produced in photolysis are immediately picked up by special compound NADP. Now, this is the term which you are coming across for the first time. What is NADP? The NADP full form is nicotinamide adenosine dinucleotide phosphate. And because the H plus ions is picked up by NADP, NADP is getting converted to NADPH, that is nicotinamide adenosine dinucleotide hydrogen phosphate. So, this is the importance of H plus ions. Next, it also combines with ADP and inorganic phosphate, trap energy to form adenosine triphosphate. Let us see the full forms once again as you are new to these terms. NADPH full form is nicotinamide adenosine dinucleotide phosphate adenosine triphosphate. So, children, please remember these two words, that is NADPH and ATP, as you will be coming across these terms in the further classes. Next, ATP and NADPH are formed at the end of the light reaction. So, these are called as assimilatory powers. So, you have to remember assimilatory powers. What are the powers released in light reaction are ATP and NADPH. This is the schematic representation of light reaction. So, in this schematic representation, you will understand that the chlorophyll is absorbing the sunlight and it is getting excited. It undergoes a series of reactions and NADP is getting converted to NADPH with the using of ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate. Let us go to the second phase of mechanism of photosynthesis, that is light independent reaction, which is also called as the biosynthetic phase. Now, the term dark reaction or light independent reaction does not mean that they occur when it is dark at the night. It only means that these reactions are not dependent on light. That is why the heading itself is indicating that it is independent of light. Now, in the step 2, a major event takes place. What is that? The hydrogen of the NADPH is used to combine with carbon dioxide by utilizing the hydrogen of the NADPH. That is, the NADPH will combine with carbon dioxide and it also uses some energy and it produces glucose. The glucose formula is C6H12O6. During the process of light independent reaction, an important enzyme plays a major role over here. That is, light independent reaction is RUBP, that is ribulose 1,5-bisphosphate. So, please remember this term also and make a small homework in the home as this word is new to you, ribulose 1,5-bisphosphate. What is ribulose 1,5-bisphosphate? Ribulose 1,5-bisphosphate is an enzyme and the abundantly present enzyme in the universe is RUBP. So, the number of steps using certain special intermediate compounds and enzymes, that is RUBP, is the compound which accepts carbon dioxide in this process. Finally, the glucose is converted to starch. So, NADPH accepts carbon dioxide and develops into glucose. That glucose is converted to starch. The enzyme which is helping this process is RUBP, ribulose 1,5-bisphosphate. This is the schematic representation of dark reaction. What is happening in the dark reaction? In the dark reaction, you can see the sunlight which is falling on the grana. It's producing NADPH and ADP. This NADPH and ATP are the products of light reaction. Now, dark reaction, that is NADPH will combine with carbon dioxide and it will form into carbohydrates in simple sugars or the simple form of the carbohydrates. Over here, the element RUBP is helping to perform the process. Types of nutritions. In the previous topics, we discussed modes of nutrition, that is autotrophic nutrition, the organisms which have the capacity to prepare their own food are nothing but autotrophic nutrition. We also discussed the best example for autotrophic nutrition are plants, and plants are also called as universal food providers. Next, heterotrophic nutrition. What is heterotrophic nutrition? The organism depends on other organism for the food material. So, children, what are we? Human beings. We are heterotrophs because we cannot prepare our own food. You might be telling, Madam, we cook food at home. But no, that is not the correct way. As plants are having chlorophyll, they prepare their own food in the similar way. We cannot do that process. We are heterotrophs. Next, in heterotrophs, we have mainly three types of nutritions. What are they? Saprophytic nutrition, that is, the organisms will feed on or the organisms will eat the dead and decaying organisms. Parasitic nutrition, over here the organism feeds the other organism without killing them. So, the plants and animals without killing them, that is parasitic nutrition. Holozoic nutrition, food is consumed completely into its body, that is ingestion, digestion, absorption and assimilation and ingestion. Saprophytic nutrition, the best example for saprophytic nutrition is yeast, molds, etc. And for parasitic nutrition, the best examples are the lice on your head and the tapeworms inside your stomach. Holozoic nutrition, the best examples are the amoeba, paramecium, etc. Heterotropic nutrition, that too in amoeba and paramecium. In amoeba, it is a unicellular organism. Amoeba has finger-like projections which are called pseudopodia. With the help of the pseudopodia, this amoeba will capture the food material, and the captured food material is completely engulfed into its body. Inside the body, the food material is broken down to simple substances, because the food material consists of complex food substances and the complex substances are broken down to simple substances inside the body of the amoeba. After the breaking process, the simple substances are absorbed by the amoeba, that is in the cytoplasm, by the process of diffusion. After the digestion process, after the absorption, the food material is brought to the cell membrane and it is ejected out or it is expelled out. So, nutrition in amoeba is a very simple process, as it is a unicellular organism and the food is digested inside the body by simple breaking of the complex substances to simple substances, and the nutrients are absorbed by the process of diffusion. Next, the next example is nutrition in paramecium. The paramecium is an organism where it is in the shape of a slipper, and this paramecium has cilia all over its body. Why are the cilia helpful? Children, the cilia are helpful for the swimming process, and also the cilia will help in the collection of the food material. So, the cilia present on the paramecium will bring the food material near the paramecium, that too at the cytostome. So, children, the paramecium takes the food material through cytostome and it engulfs the food material, breaks the complex substances to simple ones, and the same process as in amoeba. It absorbs the nutrients and it expels the material, that is the waste material, out of the body. Till now, we have discussed about unicellular organisms, amoeba, paramecium. Even in plants, that is especially Cuscuta. It is the plant which is very special. Why? Because till now we discussed that all plants have chlorophyll, but this is a special plant because in this there is less amount of chlorophyll, or sometimes the chlorophyll is absent. Now, if the chlorophyll is absent, how will this plant perform photosynthesis? So, it's in general we understand that when there is no chlorophyll, it will not perform its photosynthesis. So, children, this plant, that is Cuscuta, cannot prepare its own food. It depends on another plants for the food material. So, Cuscuta reflexa has been found to have very little amount of chlorophyll, or sometimes it is absent. What? How will this Cuscuta get the food material? The Cuscuta will develop root-like structures and it will connect to another plant. So, another plant which is having chlorophyll and which is performing the process of photosynthesis, on that plant the Cuscuta will develop special roots called as haustoria, and with the help of that haustoria, it will absorb the food material. Just like if you are having a bottle, you put a straw and you suck the juice from the bottle. In that way, the cuscuta plant will develop the roots into the host plant. With the help of those roots, that is called as haustoria, it will absorb the food material into its body. Now, let us discuss about the nutrition in human beings. Till now, we discussed about the type of nutrition in unicellular organisms like amoeba, paramecium, in plants like cuscuta. Let us discuss about the nutrition in our human beings. In human beings, nutrition in human beings, we have a well developed digestive system, as the digestive system starts from the mouth and ends with the anus. We have well developed organs to perform various functions. Let us see the labels of our digestive system. The first part of our digestive system is mouth. The second part is the salivary glands. The next is esophagus. The long tube-like structure is esophagus. And below the esophagus, we have stomach. Then we have stomach connected with pancreas and liver. We will talk in detail about all the structures in the coming classes. Next is the large intestine, small intestine, rectum and anus. So, please go through this diagram in your textbook. Make a note of it in your notebooks also, children, as it is very important. Passage of food through the alimentary canal or gut. Children, how do you eat food every day? We eat food through our mouth. So, is that you directly swallow the food into your mouth? No, you keep the food in your mouth. We eat our food through the mouth. We take the food material, place it in our mouth. Now, the food which is inside the mouth is well chewed with the help of our teeth. So, the teeth help us in chewing. So, the food material is broken down to simple substances, into small tiny substances. Now, the glands which are present in our mouth, that is the salivary glands, will help us to make the food material slimy. Now, children, you might be thinking how the saliva is being produced. Saliva is produced in our mouth because we have salivary glands. How many glands are we having? We are having totally 3 glands. What are they? We have 3 glands near the ear, under the jaw and under the tongue. So, you can just look at me also, that is, this is your ear, under the ear that is the parotid gland, and under the jaw that is submandibular gland, and under the tongue that is your sublingual gland. So, totally 3 glands: parotid gland, submandibular gland and sublingual gland. So, remember these glands. Why are we talking about these glands? Because these glands help us to make the food material slimy, because these glands are producing saliva. Now, what is present in saliva? Saliva mainly contains an enzyme amylase, that is also called as ptyalin. What is this amylase doing? This amylase breaks the carbohydrates into maltose. Carbohydrates are the complex ones, whereas the maltose is the simple form of the carbohydrate. Who is helping to do this process? Ptyalin. So, amylase or ptyalin is called as the same. So, carbohydrates are broken down to maltose with the help of ptyalin. So, this is very important, which you have to remember, that is salivary glands release saliva. Saliva contains of an enzyme which is called as amylase or ptyalin, and this ptyalin enzyme will help in converting the carbohydrates into maltose. This is peristaltic movement. What is peristaltic movement? Inside the mouth, saliva is being released, we have chewed the food and we have made the food little bit slimy. Now, that food material has to pass from the mouth through the esophagus and then into the stomach. Now, how is it passing? The food from the mouth through the esophagus into the stomach will pass in a wave-like motion. So, that movement of food substances in a wave-like motion is called as peristaltic movement. You can see the yellow color substance over here, which we are calling it as bolus. So inside the mouth, the food material which is chewed properly along with the saliva is called as bolus. So the bolus moves from the esophagus into the stomach through wave-like movement. So this is called as peristaltic movement. Now the food has been moved from the mouth through the esophagus and into the stomach. So let us see what's happening in the stomach. The stomach is like a bag. The stomach is like a bag. You all go to any functions, children, you eat because you find very tasty items or tasty dishes. You eat as much as you can. Your stomach is having flexible muscles. It will contract and it will relax. So the food which is entering into your stomach will get churned. What is churning? It is mixing, because the stomach walls have the capacity of contraction and relaxation. Because of the contractions and relaxations, the food material inside the stomach is getting churned, mixing. Now, what is present in the stomach? Inside the stomach, gastric juices and HCl is present. Yes, children, our stomach consists of acid, that is hydrochloric acid. The food will mix with gastric juice and hydrochloric acid. Next, what is happening in the stomach? The proteins are complex substances. These proteins are broken down to peptones. That is nothing but the smaller molecules of proteins. What is the enzyme which is involved over here? It is pepsin. Now, remember we have discussed bolus. What is bolus? Food material chewed properly mixed with saliva is nothing but bolus. Now, soft slimy substance where some proteins and carbohydrates have broken down, that food material is called as chyme. So there is a slight difference over here, children, bolus and chyme. Bolus is the food material where carbohydrates are broken down. Chyme is the food material where proteins and carbohydrates are broken down. So don't get confused, children, between the bolus and chyme. Yes. Now let us see what's the further process. Inside the stomach, a few amount of proteins, a few amount of carbohydrates have been digested or broken down. Now what's happening? Stomach, the food material enters into the small intestine. From the stomach to the small intestine, in between there is pyloric sphincter. What is pyloric sphincter? Pyloric sphincter is a small valve-like structure which helps in the entry of the food material into the small intestine. This pyloric sphincter will allow only little amount of food material from the stomach into the small intestine. As we have discussed earlier, stomach is a bag-like structure or sac-like structure. It will store the food material. If the entire food material enter into the small intestine, the process of digestion will be very difficult. So that is why pyloric sphincter is like a watchman in between stomach and small intestine. It will allow only little amount of the food material inside the stomach into the small intestine. So in between the stomach and the small intestine, pyloric sphincter is present. Small intestine, in name it is small intestine, but it is the longest part of our body. The small intestine, proximal part has duodenum. In the small intestine, proximal part is duodenum. Emulsification. The liver secretes bile juice. Liver secretes bile juice. What is emulsification? Breaking of the fat molecules into small globules is called as emulsification. So this process is taking place in the small intestine. Who is helping in this? Bile juice. So liver secretes bile juice, and what is this bile juice doing? This bile juice is breaking the fats into small globules. The process is called as emulsification. Children, please remember this topic, that is emulsification, which is very important for you. What are pancreas doing? Pancreas are secreting pancreatic juice. So the pancreas, which secrete pancreatic juice, also play a major role in breaking the fats to proteins and lipases. Small intestine. Small intestine secretes intestinal juices, that is succus entericus. This is also an important enzyme which you have to learn. Children, even the succus entericus which is present in the intestines, that is your small intestine, help in breaking the smaller molecules of proteins to further more smaller molecules of proteins. That is, small tiny particle of proteins are broken down to even tiny particles so that proteins are absorbed into your body. Children, this is the list of the enzymes which are present in your textbook. You can go through them and you can answer the questions which are present inside your textbook. It is very, very easy. So, please refer your textbook for further information. Next is absorption. Transfer of the products of digestion from the intestine into blood. So, till now in the small intestine, the process of digestion has taken place, and inside the small intestine we have finger-like projections which are called as microvilli. These microvilli will help the digested food material into the blood. So, how this microvilli are having blood vessels and lymph vessels. So, the digested food material will enter from the small intestine into the microvilli, then into the blood vessels, and then to the lymph vessels. From the lymph vessels, it goes directly into the blood. The villi increase the surface area of absorption. After maximum absorption of food in the small intestine, the rest passes into the large intestine. What is happening in large intestine? In large intestine, maximum absorption of water takes place, and the waste material is stored in the rectum, and from the rectum it comes out through anus. So, the removal of undigested material from the body through anus is called defecation. Flowchart of human digestive system. We are eating our food through the mouth, and then from the mouth through the buccal cavity, it enters to the pharynx, esophagus, stomach, and after the stomach we have duodenum, where liver is present, pancreas are present. Liver gives bile juice, pancreas give pancreatic juice, and from here small intestine, from the small intestine into the large intestine, then the rectum and the anus. Children, let us go through the topic which we have discussed till now. What we have learned till now, that is, during photosynthesis, the important events which occur in the chloroplast are conversion of light energy into chemical energy, splitting of the water molecule, reduction of the carbon dioxide to carbohydrates. The large complex food molecules such as carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, etc. are broken down to simple molecules before they are absorbed and utilized by the animals. The process of breaking down of complex molecules into simple molecules is called digestion. The digestive system includes the alimentary tract and several associated organs of digestive glands. The functions are ingestion, that is taking food into your body; digestion, that is breaking of the complex substances into the simple substances, that is digestion; defecation, the passage of the undigested food material from the body by the way of anus; absorption is the digested food through the walls of the alimentary canal, particularly the small intestine, through the circulatory system. Now, children, we have discussed the topic of nutrition. In this, we have discussed about the digestion and all. Let us give me some homework to you. Improve your learning. Explain the structure of chloroplast with a neat labeled sketch. What is the substance that connects light reaction and dark reaction? How is the small intestine designed to assimilate the food? Explain. How are fats digested? Where do they get digested? What is the role of saliva in the digestion of food material? For better understanding of the concepts, solve the worksheets which are present in our official website SIET. Thank you.